in a small village in Malaysia. And life was very difficult. And even when I studied very hard, I am not a very clever student. I didn't do very well. Eventually, I managed to finish my education and I started working. I wasn't earning a lot of money. And life was indeed difficult. I was struggling to make ends meet. And then I started my own business as an accountant. Life became even more difficult because nobody would give me business, or very few people. And the people I know, they wouldn't refer their friends to me, and they will not give me their business either. So it breaks my heart that I'm not getting anywhere. And eventually, I start to have business. And the business I have are from people who tell me this: Mr. Gay, my accountant is charging me $300. How much would you charge me? So the pressure to charge less and less fee is very serious to me. And then even if I charge them the less fee, they tell me, Mr. Gay, my accountant give me 3 months credit. How many months credit would you give me? And it become a big problem. I'm earning less money and I'm not getting to receive the money. Sometimes they don't even pay me. And it was a big struggle just to persuade people to give me business. Life was so difficult that even when I got the business, I couldn't do a good job because I couldn't afford to hire highly skilled staff and pay them well because I don't have money. And partly, my communication was not very good. So even if I get a job, maybe my instruction to my staff was not clear. Maybe my understanding of the client's requirements were not clear. So in the end, my staff are not happy with me because things are not done correctly and they have to spend more time making corrections. And clients are not happy because I'm not giving them the reports on time. And even the reports that I give them on time sometimes have a lot of error. So in the end, I have to work so hard. I leave my house every morning before the sunrise. And by the time I reach home, all my neighbors are already sleeping. And for all the long hours, I'm just about making ends meet. And when you don't have money, life is difficult. How many of you have been in this situation before where you work very hard, but you're not earning much money? Thank you. Right? I was in that position. And when you don't have money, something else happens. People don't respect you. People don't look up to you. People will not listen to you. And one day, one of my clients said, Mr. Gay, if you don't have $1 million in your bank, nobody will respect you. And I thought, oh, okay. All I need is $1 million in my bank. Then how do I do it? I got no idea. Eventually, somebody invited me to a public speaking club. I was very excited. I went there and I mastered the skill of public speaking. And today, instead of stuttering and feeling very nervous, I've overcome my nervousness. I'm able to speak confidently. And I'm able to persuade people and to help them. So it's like night and day. Today, I don't need to run around chasing for business. The business are coming to me as I sit in my office because people know me and they refer their clients to me and their friends introduce their friends to me. So I am very blessed. Also because I'm able to communicate with my own team in the office and motivate them and inspire them so that even when I'm attending Agora meeting like right now, you'll be surprised at this hour, 9 p.m. in Singapore, I have people in my office still working, helping me earn money. That is the power of effective communication. And I want all of you to enjoy the benefit. How many of you want to enjoy the same benefit? Raise your hand. Thank you, Rajan. Thank you, Fred. Now, it's very important. Thank you, Jeremy, as well. Now, because of that, I'll tell you why you must join Agora. I joined Agora because I have many friends. We spent more than 20 years, maybe 30 years in another speaking organization. I found that I am the only one who have made the transition from misery, poverty, and lack of friendship to where I am today. Why? Because my friends, they are very busy earning titles, winning ribbons at contests, and getting very big, all kinds of certificates. But actually, their life did not change. They are very happy to be on stage. They are very happy to be giving speeches and very happy to have people cheering them whenever they speak. But actually, they didn't learn. They were not effective in communicating. Their family break up. Children don't listen to them. The wife divorced them. They couldn't get the job they want. Even when they get the job, they cannot get the promotion they want. And their business cannot grow. They cannot increase their sales. Nothing happens. So that organization, while give a lot of fun and excitement and glory, is a toxic environment where people are quarreling with each other. They are trying to do better than the other to get the glory, but they did not help each other to do better in life. That is why I'm very happy to be in Agora, because I meet wonderful people like Fred Jones, like Mike Nicholson, Rajendran, Jeremy, Chris Callahan. All these are very, very giving people, right? Because in Agora, people are here to give, to share. The people do not come to Agora to see what they can get out of you. They are come here to see what they can do to help you become a better communicator, help you to be able to communicate in a way that you can have more friends, better friends, communicate in a way where you're effective. When you speak, people would listen to you. They would understand you. They would believe you, and they would do what you ask them to do. Isn't that what you want? Raise your hand. Do you want to speak so that people can hear you? People will believe you. People will do what you ask them to do. That is the power in Agora. Right? Now, this will not happen overnight. When I started Agora about, I think 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe, there's only 3 persons in my club. Myself, my wife, and one of my sons. But we say we will start anyway. And because we started, then I started invited people. I invited many people, but very few, believe me, very few want to spend their time to learn communication. But today, things have changed. They have seen the progress they make. Because one of the biggest problems in Singapore today, it's a national problem. I think it may be also same in your country, because parents spend an enormous amount of money and time and emotion for their children's education. They put them through kindergarten, primary school, secondary school, junior college, and university. Many of them even go for higher degree like masters and doctorates. And all these people, highly trained, highly qualified, what happened to them? They get a job. But they cannot get the job they want. Even when they get a good job, all the brilliant ideas in their head, they are not able to communicate. So their peers, their colleagues, their bosses couldn't understand them. And all the great ideas, all the proposals were never understood, were never adopted, were never implemented. And these people become very sad. Why? All the great ideas, nobody believed them, nobody understood them. And they cannot do what they like to do. They cannot get the promotion they deserve. They cannot earn more money. And you think that is bad. It's a lot worse than that. Why? When the person is in that position, it's not only this one person suffer, the wife, the children, they suffer. Okay, it's not only the wife and children suffer because this man become depressed and sad and earning less money than he should be earning. The company suffer because they spend a lot of money recruiting the people, highly trained, highly qualified, but they cannot benefit from the brilliant ideas. And you think that is bad? It's worse than that. When the companies in Singapore cannot enjoy the benefit of the clever ideas, Singapore as a nation loses its competitive edge. So for Singapore to prosper, each individual must achieve the full potential. And to achieve the full potential, we must be able to make people understand us, make people believe us, and make people help us willingly. Now, that is what you should consider. Invite all your friends, tell them the benefit, tell them join Agora. How many of you would want to enjoy the same benefit? How many of you would want your friends to enjoy the same benefit? Thank you, Evie. Thank you, Dahlia. Yeah, thank you, Chris and Rajendra. We should do our part. We are blessed. We have enjoyed this benefit. We cannot take this to where we are going in our next leg of the journey. We got to give all we can. We want to die empty. Whatever knowledge, whatever experience, whatever wisdom, whatever insights that we have gained from Agora, let us share it. Now, many of you, if you're joining for the first time in Agora, you're new, you may find that after one meeting, after 2 sessions, after 3 sessions, you are not making much progress and you want to quit. Don't quit. Why? Rome is not built in a day. Communications cannot be mastered in 1 session or 2 sessions. It took me many years of practice, of trial and error, of failing and feeling sad and miserable and picking myself up to try again. It is like learning to ride a bicycle. How many of you are able to ride a bicycle? Oh, very good. I think you will remember the day you learned to ride a bicycle. Are you able to ride the bicycle immediately on the first attempt? No, we cannot do that. We will fall many times, skin our knees, right? And we'll hurt ourselves. But if we stop, we will never learn. So we get up, right? Mount the bike again and pedal a bicycle. One day we found that, oh, wow, I can maintain my balance. I can maintain the equilibrium. I won't fall down anymore. That would be the greatest joy. Can you still remember that day in your life? Great day, right? And even then, when you are riding your bicycle, can you still remember the first time you do it? You are gripping the handlebar very tight, right? You're very conscious about turning this angle, turning the angle to change direction, and how hard you press the brakes to stop the bike, and how you pedal left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. We are very conscious of every single thing. And that's exactly what happened to us in public speaking when you're learning to speak. And what happens after that? You continue riding. And one day, you find that you can ride from point A to point B, kilometers away, crossing traffic light, crossing the road, turn right, turn left, sometimes uphill, sometimes downhill. And you do not have to think anymore. You do not have to think of pedaling. You do not have to think about pressing the brakes. You do not have to think about turning the handlebar this way and that bar anymore. The bicycle and you have become one. You are no more separate. You become natural. And that is what we want to do with our communication skill. We don't want to meet somebody and say, wait, I cannot talk to you now. I need to refer to my notes what to say, right? So you want to be an effective communicator, it must be like riding the bicycle. Not only riding the bicycle, one day you will be able to ride the bicycle even without holding the handlebar. You can turn right and left, fast and slow, everywhere you go. How many of you are able to ride your bicycle in the way without even holding the handlebar? Very few, but I think Rajendran can do it, Sarah can do it. And you want to do it with your communication skill. So that when you meet anybody, whether it's in the lift, in the bus, in the restaurant or anyway, you are ready to communicate. Don't be like some of my friends in another speaking club, champion, many times champion. When you ask them to give a speech, no, I cannot speak like that. You must give me time to prepare. You say, what the hell? You are champion, communication skill. Many times, many years of training. Why do you need many days to prepare a 2-minute speech or 5-minute speech? So we must be the man who is riding the bicycle without having to hold the handlebar. How many of you want to do that? How many of you wish your friends to enjoy the benefit of having more friends, having better friends, earning more money, building better business, having better relationship with your friends, with your wife, with your children, not living in a dysfunctional family, not engaging in toxic environment activities, enjoy the benefit in the right environment, join Agora. Do it now. Raise a hand who would do it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Trisha, raise a hand. Well done. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I'm very glad to be here. I'm looking forward. If any of you want to join, visit Agora Singapore. I will send my email address and WhatsApp number to the chat group. Please join us in Singapore. Thank you. Over to you, Evie. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Yay! Thank you so much, Bumping. Such an inspiring speech full of life lessons. So I hope from Mr. Bumping's speech, we all know how important the effective communication is to improve our life, not only in career, in business, also in personal life. So you need to start now, practice consistency, don't quit, and just share this good news with everyone so everyone can also benefit from being an effective communicator. Thank you, Bang Feng. Thank you so much. Okay, fellow Agorians, now let's walk through this another session. Oh, sorry. Uh, I was muting. Anyone hear me? Yes? All right. So let us continue to our second agenda for tonight, which is we'll be laughing together with Julie Bain, the Agora Ambassador of USA. Julie has very kind enough to share us the video that she has prepared for us for tonight's session. And here we go. Let us listen for Julie Law's sessions. Hello, Julie.
Have you ever had a pet? Have you ever wanted a pet? I grew up having a lot of pets throughout my lifetime, mostly dogs, but I've also had a cat and a couple rabbits, and I've learned a lot of life lessons from them. And I'm going to share some of those with you today. First of all, I'm going to tell you about my childhood dog, Chief. And I can't tell you about Chief without telling you about my brothers. So I grew up with 4 older brothers. They were all born a year apart. That meant that my mom had 4 boys under the age of 3 in her household. And then she took a 14-year break, and surprise, I came along. When I asked my mom what she would have named me if I was a boy, she said, orphan. She was determined not to have any more boys after what she went through with them. So we had this German Shepherd when I was young. And the first lesson I learned was you do not let teenage boys name the dog, because they named that dog Chief von Hindenburg. Yep, after that disaster. Can you imagine if my mom let those boys name me? I would probably be Princess, Hurricane, Landslide, Volcano, Julie. Thank goodness she put her foot down and just let them name that dog. I also learned that teenage boys love dogs more than anything because that dog was so pampered and so well taken care of. You'd think that the first girl in the family would be shown affection and love, but it was that dog. That dog got taken everywhere with those boys, to the park, on bike rides, on truck rides. Meanwhile, I was left home. To this day, those boys still tell stories about how amazing that dog was and how he was the best dog anyone has ever had. And when I say those boys, my brothers, those boys are in their 60s. Next, there's Runt. Runt was a cat I had as a child that my brothers got me. I was maybe 5 or 6 when I got the cat, and Runt lasted about a year in our house before it slipped out the door and ran away. And I looked for that cat almost every single day. I thought I'd see it wandering back into our yard and I'd be able to catch it and bring it into my house. Actually, I've looked for that cat almost every day my whole entire life, knowing full well that that cat would be in its 40s right now, but still hoping that that cat will wander into my life. And I think that's one lesson I learned, is that once you lose a pet that runs away, you never forget it. Next, there's the first dog I had as an adult. Right before we got married, my fiance decided this would be a great time to maybe look at a puppy because planning a wedding wasn't stressful enough. So he said, hey, why don't we go look at this chocolate lab? And I said, sounds great, but guess what? We're not getting a chocolate lab because we're getting married in a few months. But knowing that we're bad at making decisions, I thought, okay, I'm going to plan ahead. We're going to get a bowl. We're going to get a leash. We're going to get some food. But we're definitely not going to get puppy. Guess what? We got a puppy. We came home with that puppy. And this is when I learned that you have to be careful what you name that puppy, because we named him Rebel, and Rebel lived up to that name. Once, Rebel was being especially naughty, and we decided to reprimand him by putting him in a bathroom on a timeout for a couple minutes. And when we checked in on him, Rebel had unrolled all of the toilet paper into one giant ball. All we could do was laugh. Another time, when Rebel was older and he was allowed to have full range of the house, we came home to find him acting a little funny. We did some investigation and we found underneath the couch there was a plastic bottle of alcohol that Rebel had chewed through and drank. And it turns out he was completely drunk. So we had to call poison control and explain to them that our dog drank a whole bottle of alcohol. And of course, not knowing what to do and being super concerned, we were worried that we would have to take him to the emergency room. Fortunately, they were able to tell us that it wasn't that big of a deal. We just needed to give him lots of water and watch him for the night, much like you do if you were in some kind of sorority or fraternity and one of your friends got drunk. So that was a major relief, but we also learned our lesson to keep Rebel away from the room that had alcohol in it. Next, there was Wrigley. And Wrigley came along about 8 months after Rebel. He was another chocolate lab. And if you know anything about the Chicago Cubs, you know that they were the underdogs of baseball and they played at Wrigley Field. And Wrigley was the runt of his litter, so that's why we named him Wrigley. But he was not the underdog in real life. Wrigley came from a superior breeding line of hunting dogs, so he was very athletic and he could outrun anyone, he could outjump anyone. But we also learned that Wrigley was the #1 best friend of Rebel. We also learned that being a best friend meant that those two dogs were going to share a brain. There were times where we would take them to a dog park and it's like they just shut off their brains. They would run and challenge each other to run further and further. And no matter how much we called them, they would not come back to us. Another time we went to a friend's cabin and we were going to walk down to the lake with him, and we opened the door, and before we could get halfway down the hill, Rebel and Wrigley had run down there, seen some ducks, jumped in the lake, and started paddling across the lake to chase after the ducks. Now, this was October in Minnesota, and the water's pretty cold, so it's not like we could swim out and get them. And of course, they were sharing one brain, so they weren't even listening to what we had to say. My husband had to find a rowboat and row across the lake to get those two goofballs back in the boat into shore so we could dry them off and get them leashed up. Next, there was Caesar. Caesar was our first dog that we got from a rescue organization. And Caesar taught us that rescue dogs are amazing pets. Caesar was older, so he came to us already house trained, and he was amazing at training. He went on to be a canine good citizen, and he just did everything he could to please us. He also ended up being a great companion of Rebels. And so that was our first time that we had a rescue. And from there on, we learned that rescues were the way to go. Next, we got a companion for Caesar, and her name was Dixie. And Dixie was our first girl dog. And when my husband proposed a girl dog, I thought, what are you thinking? We have never had a girl dog. We don't know what to do with girl dogs. What are we going to do? Dixie was an amazing dog. She took to Caesar immediately, and it was heart melting how well those two bonded within just a few days. Dixie was also a thriver and a survivor. Dixie got bone cancer and she had to have her leg amputated. And so I got very concerned about how we were going to teach her how to walk with only 3 legs and use the stairs in our house. And this stressed me out very much. But as it turned out, and as our vet reassured us, dogs are born with an extra leg, and Dixie proved that, because the day after her surgery, Dixie had already taught herself how to hop down the hallway on her own. And before I could even figure out how to coax her down the stairs, Dixie did it by herself. She coaxed herself down the stairs, hopping all the way down, and just totally took that stress away from me and learned how to do it on her own. And that's when I learned the amazing survival skills that dogs have. I also learned that when you have a three-legged dog, or tripods as they're called in the community, that people go a little bit crazy. Once we took Dixie for a walk at the park, Caesar and Dixie both, and there was a mother pushing her child on a swing, and Dixie was hopping along on three legs, and the mom got so engrossed in seeing a three-legged dog, almost like it was a unicorn, that she missed pushing her child, and the poor child fell on the ground. Yeah, you have to be careful where you walk your three-legged dogs because people tend to think that they're unicorns. Our next dog we lost Caesar and Dixie to cancer, and so we got a puppy named Emmett. Now, I did not want to bring another puppy into our house because Caesar and Dixie were older and they were already house trained, but our high school friend had other plans. She knew we were grieving and she had this amazing puppy that needed to be rehomed, and she suggested Emmett, and I did not want a puppy. My husband said, let's just go look at this puppy, and I was like, nope. We already have proven that we can't just look at puppies, we get puppies. But of course I said, okay, we'll go look at this puppy. And we looked at this puppy, and when we got there, the puppy looked exactly like Dixie. And I sat in the car bawling my eyes out because I was like, dang, we're bringing home a 13-week-old puppy and I'm too old to train a puppy. I can't do this. But we brought home a 13-week-old pit bull puppy, and he was amazing. We've never had a pit bull before, and what I've learned about pit bulls is that they're super quirky. Yes, they have a reputation for being vicious, and they are vicious, viciously happy. They wake up every morning happy, wagging their tails, ready to play, ready to love. It actually gets a little bit annoying because they are just so happy that sometimes it's like, all right, that's how Emmett is. He's also super quirky. He likes to be carried like a baby, so my husband has to carry him on his hip, even though he's 60 pounds and 2.5 years old. He likes to be carried and put in the car like that. He also likes to tunnel under the bed sheets when he goes to bed. He can't sleep on top. He needs to tunnel under the bed sheets, which is actually really adorable. Lastly, our newest addition to the family is Edith. And Edith is an almost 5-year-old pit bull mix that we got. And she came to us after just having a litter of puppies that were about Emmett's age. So I learned from Edith that once a mother, always a mother. Edith is always taking care of us in the family. She's always mothering Caesar or Emmett. She's always licking his face, keeping him in line. If Emmett wants to play, she'll play with him like a mother, but when it's time to stop playing, she will put him in line. Also, as a mother, she cannot have us on different levels of the house. So if one person's upstairs and one person's down, Edith has to be in the middle of the house, waiting until we all come back together. And as a pit bull, she also has some quirks. One of them is that Edith loves to be dressed up. She loves wearing clothes. I have 2 boxes of clothes that I have for her. And I'm not talking Halloween costumes. Yes, I have a Wonder Woman costume I put her in, things like that. I have a reindeer costume that I put her in for Christmas. But I'm talking, I have jackets, I have sweaters, I have t-shirts, and she loves to be dressed up like a doll. It's maybe one of my favorite things. Pets can be therapeutic, they can be calming, but they can also be quirky and funny, and they can teach you life lessons. And I think that's the joy of having a pet. Now, I spoke mostly about my dogs today, but I say every pet can teach you a life lesson, whether it's a dog, a cat, a rabbit, or a turtle. I encourage everyone to go out there and adopt a pet and see what kind of life lessons they have for you, because I promise you they're going to bring a lot of joy and love and, yes, quirkiness to your life.
Yay! Thank you so much, Julie. Wow, I don't know that a pet can be so fulfilling. So let's get a pet. Right. So, okay. Thank you, Tisha, for also playing the video for Julie. And now let's go to our next event, which is a keynote speaker. We have a very special guest tonight, Yogesh Kapoor. Please help me welcome Yogesh Kapoor. Yogesh, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Yay! Okay. So Yogesh Kapoor, we are very thrilled, and I really cannot wait to hear your speech, because this is will be a very interesting speech. The title itself is already very appealing to me. Is how you can craft a winning speech. Oh, so I bet the contestant wish that they really hear this speech beforehand. But okay, there's no without further ado, let's help us welcome Yogesh Kapoor. Yogesh, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Evie. Am I visible?
No.
You're not
Yeah.
visible.
Yeah, I'm noticing I'm not visible. Maybe it's the Zoom connection in China, because I'm in China right now.
Oh, okay.
Usually it works, but never mind. I'm going to share my screen. I'll get right into it since I know we're a little over time. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, perfect. I just need to go to the slideshow. Okay, thank you so much, first of all, for giving me this opportunity to speak in the AGORACON. It's such a privilege and honor. Thank you so much for that. So today my workshop is going to be about how do you craft a winning speech. How many of you here are in the competition? I would love to know. Just raise your hands. No, not many? Okay, I see a few of you. Great, great. So I've been doing competitions for the last 10 years, and I've had the privilege to even reach to the semifinal stage of public speaking back in 2017 in Canada. I love competitions, not because I like to compete with others, but because I enjoy delivering the message and I enjoy reaching to as many people as possible. So I'll get right into it. Now, crafting a great speech is like making the right sauce. You need the right ingredients for it. And many people ask me this question is, how do you find the topic for your speech? So I'm going to get right into it. How many of you have trouble finding a topic for a speech? Just raise your hands. Not many, seems like. Okay, so whenever I think about finding a topic for a speech, the first question I ask myself, oops, there we go, is what life-changing experience do you have? So it could be anything, right? Tell me in the chat if you've had a life-changing experience, something that changed your life around. Yes, me. I can see Dahlia responded, Sarah responded. Yes, I have. Meeting you is a life-changing one. Thank you, Aaron. Nice to see you, Aaron, after many, many years. So just give me a second. My slide's not moving as fast as I want it to. So it could be anything, right? It could be overcoming sickness or poverty. It could be a career change, finding the right partner. It could be anything. So that's the first question you have to ask yourself is, what life-changing experience do I have? And, you know, you can think over this, you can write it down, you can put it in the chat if you would like to share. But it's very important. It could be anything that transformed you completely. The second question to ask yourself is, what if this was the last day on earth? What message needs to be told? Like, what's the message you want to give with your speech, right? If you knew you were gonna die by tomorrow and you had only today to speak, what is it you want to tell the world? It's a very, very important question to ask yourself. It could be never give up, follow your passion, let it go. My speech title in the World Championship semifinal was Let It Go. And one of my friends, Ryan Avery, who's a world champion, he was the youngest world champion at the age of 25. His wife took him to the Grand Canyon and asked him this question. Like, if this was the last day on earth, what message you would like to give the world? And his message was, trust is a must. Like, you cannot break somebody's trust. And it was about him and how he fell in love with his wife and how his trust had been broken before. So before making that commitment to his wife, he promised. So that's the second question. The third question is the message universal? Now, why do I ask this question is, everybody in the audience has to relate to your message. Now, let me give you a simple example. I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat meat, okay? But if I went on the world stage and I said, become vegetarian, is that a universal message? You can put it in the chat, yes or no. Sarah, to everyone, yes. Naya, no. Evie, no. Exactly. It's mostly no, right? I cannot dictate my personal beliefs on others. So it's a no. Your message has to relate to every single person in the audience. That's the third question you have to ask yourself. If it doesn't relate, the judges in the contest will probably not score you very high on this. Just give me a few seconds. Seems the internet is really bad here, and I'm unable to move my slides. The next question is, how do you choose the title of your speech? Now, usually, what I have noticed is most world champions, whatever their message is also the title of their speech. That is the best way to choose a title for your speech. It could be your message, or it could be your tagline. What I mean by tagline, it's the message you repeat in your speech again and again. And I've done that on many occasions, like my 2020 speech, my tagline was "Get Out." And that was also my speech title. It was my tagline and my speech title. It was a message that I wanted the audience to stick, because you have to remember, after your speech, they might forget a lot of what you said, but your title and your tagline and your message is what has to stick. Naya, make it eye-catching and word booming. Yes. Short, sweet as well. Yes. Convincing, relatable. Yes. Moving on. Technology. So now I want to get into the structure of your speech. What are the key ingredients in the structure of your speech? The first is your opening. What is the opening? It's establishing the connection with audience. That is the most important time of your speech. You have to relate to the audience, catch their attention in the first couple of seconds. I always say in the first 15 seconds, but it also depends on your speech, what your speech is about. My 2017 speech at the semifinals, I took about 30 seconds because it was more of a serious story that I was telling them. So I'll give you a few ways you can start your opening. One is humor. Back in 2019, I did a speech where I started with, "My name is Yogesh Kapoor, and I am very poor." So everybody in the audience started laughing. And that's a good way of establishing connection with them, because I made them laugh right away in the beginning. And most world champions do that. They tell a joke, or they make their words very humorous, and they get the attention of the audience. The second is a dialogue. You can start your speech with the dialogue. 2016 world champion Darren Tay started with these words: "Hey, loser, how do you like your new school uniform?" Those were the words of my high school bully, Greg Umberfield. So that's the second way you can start your speech and make the audience visualize what's going on. The third is a dramatic story, which is what I used in my speech. I started with, I was lying on my deathbed, and as I gasped for the last breath of air, before my soul left my body, my life flashed in front of me. So it took about 30 seconds to get into it, but it was more serious. And it's dramatic. I made them visualize that I was about to die and I was lying in the hospital or on a bed. It's a very effective way of also grabbing the audience's attention, but you have to be very careful how you do it, because dramatic stories usually need, you need to leave the energy very high of the audience. The fourth is you can state your message completely right in the beginning. So my 2020 speech, I started with, "I left my house with the most motivating, uplifting, and encouraging words from my wife. Get out." So it was funny. And at the same time, it was my message that I gave, because towards the end of my speech, I repeat the message. So state your message right away in the beginning. Fifth is you can use props. Many world champions use props. I used a balloon in my speech. 2015 world champion Mohammad Khatani used a cigarette right away in the beginning. 2014 world champion used a flower. You can even use a costume. I have done that before in 2019 in my speech, "Why So Serious?" I dressed up as the Joker. And props is a very good way of grabbing the audience's attention, even without saying anything, because you already are making them curious of what's coming. So these are 5 ways you can open your speech. Moving on to the body of the speech. Now, in the body of the speech, what is the body of the speech? I define it as is the roller coaster ride of emotions, because in the body is where you tell your main story. And in your main story, you got to make sure that you make them laugh, you make them cry, you make them emotional. You got to play around with the audience, with their emotions, make them feel it. So one idea, and what I've seen in most world champion speeches, is you can always have one story in a speech or 3 different stories or struggles. You know, it's very important to, when you're sharing your message, you add in a story that tells of your struggle. What were you struggling with? What was the problem, right? Or 3 different stories, 3 different areas you were struggling with, and how you found the solution to them. That's what I've seen with most world champions. They either take 1 story or 3 stories. The second is, in the body, you have to have a conflict. It could be a personal conflict with yourself, or it could be with others, your girlfriend, your spouse, your parent, your teacher, your boss, whoever it is. The personal conflict is usually about, should I change career? One of the world champions, 1999, he spoke about personal challenge of whether to commit suicide or not. So it could be a personal conflict, but those are very, the personal conflict is not easy to convey as it is conveying conflict with others. How many of you have had speeches where you've displayed conflict with someone? You can put it in the chat. My speeches are always conflict with my wife. And I guess that's why it's relatable, because many people have relationship issues? Nope, not yet. Trisha is laughing. But it's important to have a conflict. It's very, very important in any given speech. I am a child, guitar. Okay, your time will come. And my slides are holding up on me again. Apologies for the technical issues. Hey. I think I skipped a lot. Oh, yep. Looks like I went right back. Third is emotion. They need to feel what you are feeling. When you are delivering a speech, if you convey some emotion, but your audience does not feel it, then your speech is not connected. And I'll give you a simple example of that. For example, how many of you have had McDonald's, a McDonald's meal before? I'm sure many of you. Just give me a yes in the chat. Yes, exactly. Now, if I asked you to describe a Big Mac, right? When I tell people mostly how to describe a Big Mac, and they mostly get into, oh, it tastes good and all, but you have to touch the 5 senses of your audience. So if I had to describe a Big Mac or eating a Big Mac, I would say, oh, when I touch the soft sesame bun and the amazing cooked beef inside and the melted cheese, and as I took the first bite, I could feel the juicy, tender meat. Now I'm vegetarian and I'm feeling hungry right now. So you got to make them feel what you are feeling emotionally, using all their 5 senses, right? Make them feel the smell, taste, all of that. And my slides. I only tried cheeseburger. Just give me a sec, everyone. Four, climax. Every speech needs a climax. What do I mean by that? Climax is the tipping point where everything seems a mess. That's the point where everything seems it's going wrong. And right after that, you get your solution. And from there, it just goes downwards and smooth. So every speech needs a climax. I've seen so many speakers, they have amazing speeches, but they don't build up that tension, that struggle they're going with, which is a very important part of any speech. Fifth is humor. What I've noticed in world champion speeches is they have 10, 15 points of humor in their speeches. Humor is so important. It diffuses the emotions and elevates the mood. I'm going to give you an example of a speech I did in 2019 where I was talking about getting a divorce with my wife. And in that speech, I spoke about a very good Toastmaster friend of mine. And in that, I said that I wanted a divorce. And then I went to my Toastmaster friend's house that morning and I saw the dead body of his father. And the speech got very serious. And the last thing the father was holding was the photo of his wife in his hand when I saw the dead body. And his wife was in the hospital. And after that, I had this transformation, like, did I really want a divorce? But what I noticed is the energy in the room died out. It completely died out. Everybody was quiet. Everybody was serious. And as a speaker in a contest, you really, really have to bring that mood up. So right there on stage, what I realized is I need to add a joke or something immediately. So I said, I went home and I saw the divorce papers were signed and my wife had gone to sleep. And then I changed my body language and I said, I tiptoed into my wife's room because I'm scared of my wife. And everybody in the room started laughing. You know, I thought of it last minute because I knew if I didn't do that, the energy in the room would be very serious, very dead. But as soon as I cracked that joke, everybody was alive again. And I got the momentum going again. So humor is very important throughout your speech. Try to add at least 10, 15 points of humor in your speech. Sixth is transformation. Transformation. What was the personal transformation you had from that experience? And that transformation has to be felt by your audience as well. So that towards the end of your speech, you know you somehow have transformed them. So it's very, very important. And sometimes speakers, you know, they have a 6-minute speech and they do that at the 7th minute or at the 6.5 minutes. You hear that one sentence and you're like, oh my God, that is beautiful. Like you realize that is it. I call it goosebump moments. You know, you have this goosebump moment when you're listening to a world champion, like, oh my God, that was brilliant. So transformation is very important in the body of your speech. And finally, every speech needs a hero, okay? That hero could be anybody in your life. It could be your grandfather, your parents, your siblings, your friends, your mentor, your coach. You know, it could even be an animal. It could even be an insect. My 2020 speech, my speech was about talking to a dead dragonfly. So it could be anybody. Some speeches, you can be the hero of your speech, but that is usually very risky as well when you're in a competition. I have studied world champions since 1984. And I only found one world champion who was the hero of his own story. So usually the hero is somebody else in your speech. So that was the body of the speech. These are the 7 ingredients that you need in order to make your body very strong. Moving on to the conclusion. What is the conclusion? I always define it as conclusion is the final nail in the coffin. Why do I say that? Is because people have amazing stories, amazing opening, amazing body, but somehow in the conclusion, they get weak. They don't make it strong enough, and the judges change their mind about the speech. The final nail in the coffin is for the judges. How you end your speech, how powerfully you end it. So the first thing you need to do in your conclusion is call back your story or journey. It doesn't have to be very long, right? It could be very short. I used to be this guy who was afraid of trying new things. But after my coach, I always keep trying new things, right? Very simple. You're calling back your story just as a reminder to them. Repeat your opening and transformation. Second is your tagline. Your tagline is your message. You can repeat it towards the end or before that. Usually most world champions repeat it in the end. Like my 2020 speech, when I ended it, I screamed on the Zoom. I said, "Get out!" And after that, the contest chair was panicked. She's like, "You scared me, when you scream so loud." But 1 year later, one of my friends' husband, when we had the contest the following year, he heard my name and he remembered the words "get out." He's like, "Oh, that guy who said get out." So it is very important to repeat your tagline or your message just a little before or towards the end of your speech. Mine was "get out," and 2014 world champion, his tagline was, "I see something in you, but I don't know what it is." And he pointed at the audience and he said that, which was his message as well. And finally, call to action. What is it you want your audience to do? Too many speakers give speeches, but they don't tell the audience what the audience has to do. The audience needs to be guided. You need to tell them, never give up. Keep moving on, whatever your message is. Never break someone's trust. What is it you want your audience to take away before they leave that room? So it's very important to have call to action at the end of your speech. You have to, oh, sorry, that was too quick. It could be change the world, face your fear, dream again. What is it? So these are the three important things in the conclusion of your speech. So I think I've covered almost everything. How to choose your topic, how to get your title, your opening, body, conclusion. I know we're limited on time, so unfortunately I cannot get too detailed, or I would show you a few videos and all. But I think I have about 4 minutes left. So if there's any quick Q&A, I can answer one question maybe.
All right. Thank you, Mampeng. Any question, everyone? Thank you, guys. Sorry. Any question, everyone? You can unmute or you just put your question in chat.
Naya, go ahead.
All right.
So you said that in the body you have to have like the what it was called, roller coasters, like the ups and downs of your speech. But how can we deliver it very nicely in a very good way? Do we have to put in like descript it very nicely, or?
As long as you're able to make the audience feel what you want them to feel. That is the important thing. And how do you script it is like, you got to test your speech in many places, right? You got to test in different clubs. You got to get feedback from the audience. You got to get feedback from your coaches. They will tell you, maybe, you should remove this part of the story. It's not important. Or they will tell you, maybe, this part of your speech is too serious. You got to trial and test it. My speech from the semifinals in 27, I changed it 27 times.
Oh, wow. 27?
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I would change a word, sometimes I would change a paragraph, sometimes I would remove a paragraph, but it's all trial and testing.
Oh, so we have to like trial and test until we finally get to that perfect script.
There's no perfect script. There is no perfect script. It is only the script that you feel is the best one.
Oh, great advice. Thank you very much. I've been stressing out too. Once I tried to captivate the audience and then my internet lagged. And then I felt like I didn't want to do the speech anyways because I thought maybe the speech was not ready yet, you know. And sometimes I just get nervous.
That's okay. Even I get nervous before a speech contest. But when you step on the stage, you just have to remind yourself that the focus is your audience. You're not the focus of your speech.
All right.
Oh, okay. Thank you,
Thank
Yogesh.
you so much, Nayo, for a very good question, and thank you, Yogesh, again
Thank you.
for
Thank you for
delivering
the
such
opportunity.
such an inspiring speech, full with the ingredients to winning a speech contest, in which we'll be having now the educational speech contest tonight. Is the thing that everyone is already waiting for. So I would like to invite Mr. Banpeng to come again to stage and to lead the educational contest for tonight's session. Mr. Bampeng, the stage is yours. Thank you again, Yogesh. Thank you.
Thank you, Evie. Welcome everyone to the Agora 2023 Speech Contest, Educational Speech Contest. Contest Organizing Chairman Christopher Callahan, ambassadors, members, judges, contestants, and friends. Welcome. Are you ready? Raise a hand. Very good. Let's have a quick check. Judges, are you ready? Chris, help me to check. There are many screens. I cannot see whether the judges are all in the room. Let me have a quick feedback, Chris. Or maybe Evie can help. All ready, yeah? Judges are ready. Very good. Contestants, are you ready? Raise a hand. Very good. Chris, help me with a quick check because I cannot see. Okay, good. Appointment holders, timekeepers, are you ready? Okay, very good. Now, timekeepers, you start your time clock when the contestant comments his presentation. He can commence his presentation verbally by the words he say or by the action he does. Okay, so it can start in two ways. And you got to record the time and inform the organizing the organizing chairman, Christopher Callahan. Can you do that? Okay, very good. Now, for the contestants, would you like to see the timing lights or screen? Okay. Now, timer, who is going to flash the color backdrop? Okay, Gayatri, can you flash the green backdrop? Gayatri. How are you going to show? Okay, very good. Contestant, can you see Gayatri's backdrop? Please pin Gayatri on your computer so that it's right at the top and you can see her. Can you do that? Gayatri, show us the yellow screen? Angela, can you see that?
Yes.
Very good. All the contestants can see that? Very good. Show the red screen, please. Okay, can you see that? Very good. Thank you very much, Gayatri. We have 5 contestants tonight. I will announce their name and the speech title. And I'll announce the speech title again and your name. After I finish the announcement, you may commence your presentation. Educational Speech Contest 2023, Agora Speakers International. Contestant number 1, Sarah White. Crime in Florida. Crime in Florida. Sarah White. You need to unmute yourself, Sarah.
Thank you very much. Fellow members, contestants, leaders, and judges, my topic today, so you're a victim of crime in Florida, know the 4 R's, is very near and dear to my heart. I'm a proud Florida woman. We are the home of the Florida Gators sports team, where we have the famous Gator Chomp, our favorite son, Tom Petty, who never backed down. And in addition, we welcome more than 100 million travelers every year to our state. Last year, we had 138 million guests in our state. They come for our theme parks, our aerospace, the largest convention center in North America, which is Orange County, our wonderful resorts, and many other attractions. Most of our visitors, I would estimate informally 98%, leave happily and rejuvenated. But as I say in the South, 98% of rat poison is sugar. It's that 2% that will get you. So what to do if you are one of that unhappy minority who may find yourself a victim of crime while in Florida? Everything from credit card scams to something as serious as, unfortunately, assault crimes. I'm a travel writer and also a survivor of a felony crime. With these combined factors, this speech is very dear to me, but I wish to state that while a lot of these tips will be applicable to Florida, they may be also applied globally. But please check the laws and the procedures of your applicable jurisdiction. I'm not an attorney or a law enforcement officer. And in addition to the 4 R's, let me please stress that your first priorities during a crime are to escape or defend yourself. In the United States, we call 911 for emergency services, but this may differ in your own jurisdiction. If you're physically injured, ask to go to an emergency room immediately. Navigate the expenses later. Your legal case can be compromised by the courts and a defense attorney if you wait to return to your home or to see a primary doctor locally. So the 4 R's in Florida that I have devised are report, record, representation, and rights. As mentioned, you should report the crime immediately. In Florida, our emergency services number is 911. For non-emergencies, you call 311. Call that immediately so that you can make a report and have emergency services provided to you that would also include ambulance services. Record everything. I'd like you to try an exercise with me. If you have a cell phone, pick that up and see how quickly you can record. Many people don't know that there is a recording feature on your top screen, and you don't need to push in your password. And by record everything, I mean that it is important to record or photograph the incident outcome. Many crime survivors believe that because the actual crime has already transpired, that it's too late to begin recording. But that's incorrect. You want to record your immediate injuries, any broken objects and debris, if that's applicable, your and the assailant's post-actions and departures, clothes worn. Look for signs of weapons on the suspect if it's a violent crime. Witnesses. You may need to prove who was there, and oddly enough, who wasn't there. You'd be surprised with victims have a problem with so-called witnesses emerging, claiming they were there and disputing your account of events. Record conditions of the crime scene, daylight, weather, ground. Record your 911 calls, waiting for response, and all interactions with law enforcement. And going forward, all of your interactions with the courts in Florida. I've been speaking to many fellow crime survivors. They have repeatedly said, oh, I wish I had recorded what that person told me because he changed his mind 5 minutes later, or what this person told me was different from what this person told me. Every interaction with the courts, prosecutors, and attorneys, record that. If you are a survivor of a crime in around the theme parks or the large convention center in Orange County, chances are you'll be reporting this in the Orange County jurisdiction or the Osceola County jurisdiction. Both of those are in the Ninth Circuit. And this area has unfortunately received in the past month a lot of attention because of the ineffective policies for prosecuting as well as some victim unfriendly situations. Fortunately, that may be changing with some staff overhauls that have happened recently, but please be aware of this, that this can be an issue in Orange and Osceola County where a lot of our tourism is. Representation. In Florida, as with much of the United States, the district or state's attorney is not your attorney. They represent the state, not you. Please know the difference. You may wish to hire your own representation, or you'll be spending a lot of hours finding your own. Be prepared for this. Next, rights, and that is rights spelled R-I-G-S-T. In Florida, as with many other states, we have what's known as Marsy's Law. This guarantees you confidentiality if you request it. You can also have other rights afforded to you, such as being informed of ongoing proceedings, as well as some other, good crime statutes. But you need to exercise those and not assume that those are going to be provided or honored for you. Unfortunately, this can be an issue. Most importantly, as a survivor of crime, and I cannot stress this enough, as our favorite son, Tom Petty, says, don't back down. Never back down. You are doing a good thing in reporting this. You're not obligated to report, but at times you will feel lonely. At times you will feel that you are being blamed for the situation, but don't back down. Be strong. And if you need attention for psychological trauma and other issues, in Florida, the number for social services is 311, and there's also psychological help available at 211. And this is the case in much of North America. But again, check with your own jurisdiction. Just always remember, don't back down, and remember the 4 R's. Report, record, representation, and rights. And be like our favorite son, Tom Petty, don't back down. Take a gator chomp out of crime. Thank you for this opportunity. Return to our host. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarawat. Judges, we have 1 minute to tally up the score. 1 minute. Timer, please start the timing. 1 minute, show the red card. Instruction for the next speakers, please pin the timer Gayatri. Gayatri, you need not pin yourself because for recording, we may want to record the speaker view, right? That means we'll blow up the speaker for recording. But for the contestants, you need to see the timer. So you need to pin the timer. We'll give a minute for the judges to tally up their scores.
Excuse me, can I
What?
please know why I need to send the timings?
It's a 1 minute up, Gayatri, sorry.
No, can I know who I need to send the timings to?
Send to Chris Callahan.
Okay, thank you so much.
Send private message, yeah? Gayatri, is it 1 minute already for the judges?
Yes.
Okay, you must show the red light so that I know. Thank you very much, Gayatri. Judges, are you ready? Very good. Agora Speakers International Educational Speech Contest 2023. Contestant number 2, Angela Lansbury. Read the label. Read the label, Angela Lansbury.
My very dear friends, please read the label. It's important. It can save your life. Do you know 3 people in the screen, in the room? Of every 4 people, 1 of them will get cancer. Could be you. Now, my husband got cancer a few years ago. He got lymphoma. And the first thing we did was we went on to Cancer Research UK, and we found that 40% of cancers are preventable by lifestyle. And he's a statistician, so he looked up the statistics and found that his cancer was 90% curable. However, 90% means that of 100 people in our street, 1 of them would die if they had such a condition. He didn't want to be that 1. He wanted 100% safety. And since then, every day we read the label of every food we bring into the house. And I'm saying, where was this grown? What are the contents? What's in it? Carrot? Carotene? What is that? Let's look it up. Now, what I'm going to tell you is the important things like saving your life, but also the ordinary, everyday fun things, which might be not such fun. For example, in the morning, I have a shower. Do you have a shower? Yes. And what do? I reach for the shower gel. If I'm in a hotel, I get something like this. Now, in the shower, I'm not wearing my glasses, so I'm looking at this and thinking, one of these has got to be shampoo and one has got to be conditioner. Or maybe it's body lotion. What is it? Fortunately, shampoo and body lotion and gel, I mean, I can use body lotion as hair conditioner and I can use shampoo as a body wash. It's not so important. On the other hand, looking at these two items, well, actually not looking at them because I'm not wearing my glasses, I'm looking for my toothpaste so I can clean my teeth. And of course, I picked this up. It looks like toothpaste, doesn't it? Okay. It's not toothpaste. What is it? It's hair conditioner. So it's important to be able to read the label. What do you need? You need a magnifying glass in your shower. Do you have a magnifying glass in your shower? No, I don't suppose you do. I don't. I think the solution is to read the label before you put things into the shower and then have them in order, a place for everything in its place. Then you know in which order to take things, which shape they are, so that if there's a power cut, you can still find them. Now, after my shower, I go and take my pills. Very simple. I've been taking them for 20 years. This is thyroxine. After my father died, I was depressed. After my mother died, I was depressed. I was executor for my uncle. I was depressed. I went on being depressed for 5 years until I went to the doctor and had a blood test. Guess what? Turned out that my thyroxine was the problem. Thyroxine was the solution. After that, I started taking thyroxine every morning, and I knew it worked because if I forgot, by lunchtime, I was feeling a bit blank. And then I would have a pill box, read the label Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I would find out if I'd taken my pill, and that was the cause of being bright and chirpy, as I usually am, as you can see, or depressed because I'd forgotten to take my thyroxine. Now, the thyroxine has instructions in it. And then I had another problem for which there was a solution. I have osteoporosis. What that means is brittle bones. As you get older, you get brittle bones. If you fall over, you break something. No fun. So you want to be careful. Not only that, my dentist told me that people lose their teeth because they crack. And your bones, your fingernails, your teeth, it's all the same system with the calcium. At this point, I got really concerned about taking the calcium. So I found the calcium. Then I read in the instructions that if you take this pill, it doesn't coordinate with that pill and they negate each other. So then I thought, if I'm in a hurry or if I'm catching a plane, I mustn't take the two pills. And very often I'd go without the second pill. Then years later, I thought I must read the instructions again, just in case, because I go from Singapore to England and occasionally I get a different brand. Well, it's all the same stuff, isn't it? Well, the instructions could be improved. Let's have a look. I looked at the instructions. What did I find? I found that if I mix my two pills, I reduce the usefulness of the pill by 80%. Sorry, to 80%. I reduce it by 20%, so it's only 80% effective. Wait a minute. So all these years, I've been going without the second pill, and I've reduced its effectiveness to 0 because I didn't take it. If I'd taken both pills, I would have reduced one or both of them to 80%. It would still be a whole lot better than 0. So from now on, if I don't have time, or I'm going to be out, or I'm flying, I'm still going to take both pills together rather than only one of them. And I learned this from reading the instructions and reading the label. Well, you might say, Angela's a bit daft, isn't she, not reading the label and the instructions? Doesn't everybody read labels and instructions? No. My beloved son studied engineering at uni, Grinnell in London, and the first thing they said to him was, "You're doing an engineering course. Engineers don't read instructions. Other people read the instructions which you write. When you see an object, a mechanical object which another engineer has designed, you don't read the instructions. You work out what happens. You see where the power switch is. You could almost feel it. It's the largest one and it's on the right. If a sensible engineer like you has designed this object so it can be useful in a power cut." So my son was told not to read the instructions. Then I found another friend who has trouble with his hips. And I said, "Have you tried looking this up to see what your symptoms are and what the causes might be?" "Oh no," he said, "I go to hospital and they have an expert there. I'm just a layperson. How could I know better than the expert?" There are hundreds of cases where experts have misdiagnosed or missed something because you might have forgotten a symptom or not realized it was relevant when you told them. It might not be their fault, but the person who knows your symptoms the best is you. So you should read the instructions of every pill you take and analyze everything. Now, I have a granddaughter, and when I went to get my pills from the chemist, in London it's a chemist, in America it would be a drugstore, I saw a lovely little puppet, and I thought, "Oh, what fun, I shall buy this." And then I read the label. Not suitable for children under 3. You've probably seen this sort of thing before. The reason is because there are things that could be pulled apart and they could swallow, and they've got tiny little throats and they could suffocate themselves. So this I'm saving until her 3rd birthday, which will come up next year. We're waiting, aren't we? The other thing you will notice on a daily basis is plastic bags. Again, for the protection of children, there is an instruction on it. The instruction is, take plastic bags out of cots, cribs, and so on. All day long, you could be saving your life and helping those around you by reading the instructions and reading the labels. So please, 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 don't brush your teeth with the tint or the conditioner. Read the label.
We have 1 minute for the judges to submit their scores. Gayatri, yeah, at 1 minute, show us the rate again. Gayatri, is the 1 minute up? Thank you, Gayatri. Agora Speakers International Educational Speech Contest 2023. Contestant number 3, Arina Camelia. Arina Camelia, am I dumb? Am I dumb, Arina Camelia?
Am I dumb? Why can't I understand a single thing from what I'm studying? Math? Science? What is X plus Y? What is hydrogen or lithium? This is so frustrating. My grades are failing, my parents have never been disappointed, and my future is doomed. If this is how you feel, then welcome to the tears of a high school student club. Sometimes you may look at people and think, how can they be so smart? But what exactly is smart? All right, here are one of the top reasons, especially for high schoolers thinking why they're dumb. They don't understand math and science, failing to do easy tasks, and unable to understand a single school subject. Which reminds me of a story by Professor Johannes Surya, a math and physics writer who dreams to educate the children of Indonesia from underdeveloped regions. Rumor says how kids from Papua Indonesia are mostly dumb. And because of that, Johannes decided to travel to Papua and look for these kids to educate them. When he arrived, he met the Papuan kids and immediately brought all of them back to Jakarta to teach them academics. And only after 6 months with Johannes, the Papuan kids mastered every subject from grade 1 to grade 6. The people who thought they were the dumbest were proven everyone wrong, as they brought gold, silver, and bronze medals, becoming the national champions of math and science Olympics. Papuan kids took down the rumors and showed that nobody is dumb. You just need the right teachers and determination to make things possible. This is for academics, but now let's dive deeper to the different fields that can measure a person's intelligence. An American psychologist by the name of Howard Gardner discovered these types of non-intelligence. Perhaps you can find your own personal strength through this list as well. First off, we have visual spatial intelligence. When I heard about this intelligence, I immediately thought about daydreaming. Daydreaming can have the ability to turn our imaginations to reality. You understand the world with visual information. If you're also able to picture a concept with your mind's eyes, being a graphic designer and an architect would definitely be the best choice with this intelligence. You also have a good sense of direction and enjoy new creative possibilities, just like how a pilot knows exactly where their destination lies. Alright, from visuals we move to speech, which is the second type, linguistic intelligence. Does that mean you're smart in speaking many different languages? It's not just about that. Having a linguistic intelligence also means that you know how you use the right words to express what you mean effectively. People who have this type can grasp languages and dialects easily, enjoy reading and playing words of games. It is a unique type of intelligence that can be utilized in many different scenarios, such as becoming a translator, journalist, or a writer. The next one, most people try to avoid in the form of exam, and assignments. It is logical mathematical intelligence, which is the ability to solve mathematical problems, just like Pythagoras solving a squared plus b squared equals c squared. If you could solve problems like Pythagoras, being a mathematician could be a nice career choice. You also enjoy creating innovative solutions, like computer analysts solving problems and improving applications in the coding world, or like Thomas Alva Edison, who created the light bulb. Who knows? Perhaps you could be the next big scientist in the future. Now, you may be wondering, what if theoretical studies don't suit me since I'm better with sports? Well, let me introduce you to bodily kinesthetic intelligence. If you love to move and exercise with your body and making gestures to express your ideas and feelings, then this is you. You also have no issue in recognizing your physical limits. This intelligence involves a sense of timing and the perfection skills of your mind-body union, which follows perfectly with career paths such as sport coaches, dancers, and athletes. Okay, who here likes to play musical instruments? Does it become your source of happiness? That means you might be someone with musical intelligence. Appreciating music and having the skills to produce beautiful sounds, rhythms, and lyrics is a part of your daily life. When playing music, you can be highly sensitive to sounds, hear what those others might miss. It also comes with a great joy for you to create and reflect about yourself through music. Now, if you're good with noticing your friend change of mood, then you have interpersonal intelligence. Someone with interpersonal intelligence is good at sensing other people's feelings and reading their moods, as they try to bring as much comfort for people who are not feeling themselves. This means you might have the potential to become a psychologist, researcher, and human resource development, or as known as HRD. From interpersonal, we jump to intrapersonal intelligence. Contrary to the previous one, people who are strong in this type enjoy taking time for self-reflection, putting themselves first, being strong, wild, and independent. They're also good at giving motivational words to people, digging deep into questions, asking others what they're feeling it and why are they feeling it. Intrapersonal intelligence involves appreciating and respecting the human condition. In general, treating others the way you would like to be treated by yourself. Becoming a social worker, theologian, or a poet can be suited for this intelligence. Now, where are my nature lovers at? Those who take strolls outside to enjoy environment might just have naturalistic intelligence. The perfect career for these nature lovers would become an oceanographer, gardener, or meteorologist. You have the ability to understand nature, and you have deep sensitivity to the non-living elements of all living things. Becoming nature smart, you love spending time in nature, outdoors, and connecting easily with animals as you raise and take care of them. And finally, striking deep into the existential question about who you are, what is the meaning of life, and what happens after death. If these are the questions you like to ponder about, then you're someone with existential intelligence. This type of intelligence is the ability to answer deepest questions and problems about human existence. You could be a motivational speaker, meditation instructor, and even a philosopher if you like to take it to a more serious level. So with this information at hand, we can find out what type of smart we strongly lean to. But Rina, does this mean I can only be smart with one type of intelligence? Of course not! The basis of being human means that we're capable of demonstrating all these types of intelligence. The only difference is the capacity. You may be better at interpersonal skills compared to linguistic skills, vice versa. Our strengths lie in different places, and that is natural. However, that doesn't mean we need to focus on only one type. You can further develop other spaces of intelligence by exposing yourself to right people and environment. Same way with the Papuan kids together with Professor Johannes. Math and science isn't the be-all and end-all to measure how smart someone is. There are plenty of aspects to determine one's intelligence, and if we can clearly raise its impact, we can use it to work together and complete each other's sets of skills. So the question remains, am I dumb? Depends on how you see it. There are no dumb kids, no dumb humans. Instead, what exists is a unique person that is smart in their very own way. Remember this, and appreciate your own intelligence. We all have our own individual strength to slowly redefine the word smart. Back to you, Contest Master, and thank you so much for listening, everyone.
Yep. Thank you, timer. Judges, you have 1 minute to tally the score. 1 minute. Timer Gayatri. Let us have the red sign at 1 minute, please. Timer Hensika, your handphone is tilted the wrong direction. Yeah, that's better. Thank you. Thank you, Timer Gayatri. Do not pin yourself, Gayatri. Let the speakers, you need to pin the timer, Gayatri, if you want to see the color lights while you're speaking. Otherwise, she'll be lost among the many, many faces. Okay, so pin the timer, Gayatri. Agora Speakers International Educational Speech Contest 2023. Contestant number 4, Richard Dieter. Medical Communications. Medical Communications, Richard Dieter.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'd like to talk about medical communication, which is part of social sciences. And medical communication is between doctor and patient. I'm involved in the education of medical students, and there's a real desire for doctor-patient interactions to be evidence-based. Let's assume for a moment that I'm a doctor in a consultation room here in the north of England, and you're the patient. You come in to see me, and I know that I've only got a few minutes to find out what might be wrong and somehow move you forward in your health journey. What would an ideal interaction look like between me as the doctor and you as the patient? That's the big challenge of this field of medical communication. To help us understand it, I'm going to take you through the development of approaches to that challenge up to the most recent research, and I hope you'll find it educational. Well, let's start with the traditional approach to this interaction of doctor and patient, which is that the doctor knows best. The doctor is like an all-knowing parent, and the patient is like a child. After all, doctors are the ones who've spent years studying medicine. Obviously, they do have more knowledge than patients. Let me sort of represent it. If this is a doctor, the patient will be down here. The doctor's high. They lead the interaction. They set the agenda. And then the grateful patient goes away and does whatever the doctor has said. Well, that was the traditional doctor-centered approach, but in the 1950s, there was a Hungarian doctor in London called Dr. Balint, and he promoted the idea that patients themselves might have some useful insights about what's wrong with them. In 1969, Dr. Balint's wife, Enid Balint, published a very influential paper called The Possibilities of Patient-Centered Medicine. And this was the first time that the phrase patient-centered appeared in print. So patient-centered, now the patient is much more at a level with the doctor. It's like an adult-to-adult interaction. Well, this patient-centered approach gained ground over the 1970s, 1980s, and in the late 1990s, it was solidified in the Calgary-Cambridge framework. Calgary is a place in Canada, Cambridge, a university place here in the UK, framework, because it was a very structured approach to building a relationship between the doctor and the patient, with the patient being particularly important. And today in the United Kingdom, the Calgary-Cambridge framework is the basis for how we teach medical students about doctor-patient communication. The other week, I was conducting role plays with medical students, and in the consultations, those students were expected to go through the 5 stages of a consultation that are laid out in the Calgary-Cambridge framework. And what's more, they were expected to demonstrate some of the 71 micro skills that are set out in the framework, which are expecting to promote a patient-centered approach. Skills like showing empathy, listening carefully. By 2007, a research paper appeared in the International Journal of Surgery entitled The Evolution of the Doctor-Patient Relationship, and that had no compunction in saying the patient-centered approach is now the predominant model in clinical practice. So there has been that shift from doctor-centered more towards patient-centered. But maybe the shift hasn't gone quite as far as it needs to. And certainly since the early 2000s, there's been more thinking into how to make the patient-centered approach, well, even more centered on the patient. In 2022, a book came out called Clean Language Interviewing. And this contains an approach for doctors to encourage more information from patients, including what might be called their hidden agendas. Let me give you an example of a case where clean language interviewing would be very useful within the context of a patient-centered approach. A 30-year-old female comes to see a doctor. She has a stressful job. She has diabetes. She says she has low energy and sometimes feels weak in the workplace. The doctor wants to check on the cause of her concern. It would be natural, perhaps, for the doctor to assume that the patient is concerned about being fit for work. And he could ask a question like, "You're concerned about whether you're fit for work, is that right?" Now notice that that's a leading question. It's leading because it contains a suggestion from the doctor that being fit for work is what the patient is concerned about. Often doctors can ask leading questions like that, which include suggestions. And when it comes from a doctor, patients sometimes just nod yes to the suggestion. But what if the doctor were to ask a non-leading question that didn't include any suggestion? And maybe he could then help the patient to say more, to get deeper into what she's really thinking. A non-leading question might be, "You're concerned about low energy, and is there anything else about that concern?" Now the patient has to reflect, and almost to her own surprise, she might put into words a previously unspoken thought. I'm concerned because it's not just about feeling weak in the workplace, but I don't know how I'll be with diabetes if I become pregnant. Oh, pregnant. That's quite a difference in terms of what's behind the patient's concern. Now the consultation takes a different turn. And that's come about because the doctor hasn't led the patient with suggestions. There was space for the patient to say what maybe before she'd only thought about subconsciously. Like she hadn't particularly been thinking about pregnancy, but now that it comes up, oh, yes, that is a concern. Now, reflecting on how careful doctors need to be about questions that they ask so that a consultation is genuinely patient-centered and not just doctors making suggestions that patients agree with, think of it like this. Before doctors conduct a physical examination of someone's body, they're very careful to wash their hands, get them really clean so they don't infect the patient. Well, doctors need to be very careful too to clean their questions before asking them to patients so that their questions don't infect patients with suggestions or the doctor's preconceived ideas. Clean hands are important. Clean questions can be important too. And with clean questions, which are part of clean language interviewing, doctors can hold the space for patients to express concerns and ideas that maybe they've kept hidden up to this point. It's not easy to do, but that is the cutting edge of becoming more patient-centered. So let me sum up where we've got to. Traditionally, medical communication was doctor-centered. The doctor was the all-knowing parent. Then there's the shift towards a more patient-centered approach. And the latest development is for doctors to help patients speak out their hidden agendas, like what's really on their minds, what's sort of more hidden, by using clean questions. During my talk here, I've mentioned two important pieces of research. There was the 2007 paper on the evolution of the doctor-patient and relationship, and the 2022 book on clean language interviewing. I'm about to put the references in the chat if you'd like to follow them up. But the key thing to remember in this whole area of medical communication is that the big thing, the ideal interaction between doctor and patient, is patient-centered. Thank you for listening. I'm going to put these references in the chat. I hope this overview of medical communication has been educational for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Judges, 1 minute to submit your scores. 1 minute for the judges. Timer shows us the red screen at 1 minute. Thank you.
The time for 1 minute is already due.
Thank you. Thank you, timer. Thank you, Evie. Agora Speakers International Educational Speech Contest 2023. Contestant number 5. Dalia Abdul Halim. Dalia Abdul Halim. Let's discover Ramadan. Let's discover Ramadan. Dalia Abdul Halim.
Thank you. So, marhaba, everyone. Marhaba in Arabic means hello. Today I'm going to talk about a special month for all Muslims. It's Ramadan, the month of fasting for Muslims. This month is really special for all Muslims. It simply means celebrations, family gatherings, children who are playing in the streets and having fun and joy. Today, I'm going to talk about 3 main points. The first one, how we fast and when we fast. Then, I'm going to take you to the second point, which is the reasons of fasting. After that, I'm going to take you to the third main point, which is a special night that comes only one time during this month. So, let us discover this holy month together. As I told you, Ramadan is really a special month for all Muslims. We simply start fasting from sunrise until sunset. It's about 14, 15, or 16 hours. It depends on the country and the time zone for each country. We simply fast by stop eating and drinking at all during all this time, starting from sunrise until sunset. It's pretty hard, trust me. So you maybe now are wondering why we are doing this. I mean, why we are exerting that effort by stop eating all the time. Actually, there's There are many reasons for fasting, but today I'm going to mention only 3 reasons as well. The first one, to control on our desires. Just imagine that you're very hungry and you feel that, oh my God, I'm going to eat the world now. Whatever you put in front of me, I'm going to eat. And there's a very delicious food besides you. And simply, you don't have the permission to eat. What you are going to do, simply to just wait the right moment to eat. Here, you are controlling on your desires. By this way, you are simply controlling on the desire of eating. Just imagine that you're very thirsty and you badly want to drink a water now. And there's a very cold glass of water and it's beside you, but you still don't have this permission to drink. What you will do, simply, you will stop drinking and wait the right moment. This is considered controlling on our desires. So the question now, why we are doing this? I mean, why we are stop eating and drinking until the right moment comes? This is simply will take us to the second main point from the reasons of fasting, to feel with needy people. There are many needy people around the world, millions or maybe more, and those people don't have the luxury of food that we have, don't have the luxury of having a lot of drinks and food and so on. So by experiencing the same hard experience as them, we are going to experience being very hungry, and we have actually this luxury to eat, but we are going to stop ourselves from eating. By this way, we are going to feel the same hard experience. So definitely we are going to feel with those people. But there's another question. What if we are going to feel with them? I mean, what those people are going to gain from our feelings? Our feelings definitely will not help them. This will take us to the third main point from the reasons of fasting, to help those people. There is kind in Islam, something in Islam, we called it zakah. Zakah, Z-A-K-A-T. This means to help needy people by giving them a certain amount of money. By this amount of money, people can buy whatever they want. Food, drinks, clothes, whatever they want from the basics of life. So by this, I have told you at least now the 3 main reasons for fasting. Now I'm going to take you to something different. The third main point for this topic, and it's a different story. The night of the power. The night of the power, it's in Arabic, we call it Laylatul Qadr. This night means that it's really a random night. It comes only one night in the last 10 nights of this month. It's a random night. We don't know which night it's going to be. Why it's random, by the way? It's random because Allah wants us, Allah or God wants us to pray with a very sincere heart in all these 10 nights, in all the last 10 nights of this month. Let us imagine that you're the lucky person or the lucky people who will pray with a very sincere heart in this night. What will happen to those people? Simply, all their dreams will come true. All what they are praying for will come true. That's why we consider it, or we call it, the night of the miracles, because all our dreams will come true if we really have prayed in this night with a very sincere heart. There's something else that makes this night really special. Holy Quran was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad at this night. So all the Holy Qurans that all Muslims are reading today was revealed in this special night. Like I told you, it's a night of miracles for Muslims. So now let me quickly just give you a quick recap about all what I have talked about. I have talked in this topic about 3 main points. The first one, how we fast and when we fast. The second point, I have mentioned the reasons for fasting. I have mentioned 3 reasons: to control our desires, and the second reason, to feel with needy people, while the third one, to help needy people. After that, I have told you about the night of the power, or Laylatul Qadr, and how this night is really special for Muslims. I really hope that you have liked this speech, but before I go, I want to show you something special for us. This is a lantern. We have different type of lanterns. Here there's a lamp, and here there's kind of music. It plays kind of music, and we have different types from this lantern, and this is a way for celebrating this holy month. I hope that you like this speech, and thank you so much for listening to me. Back to you, the host.
We have 1 minute for the judges to submit their scores. During this 1 minute, special thank you to the 2 timers. Hansika, wave to us. Hansika, wave to us. And Gayatri, yeah, thank you very much for serving as the timekeeper. And I wish all the contestants all the best. I enjoyed the speeches thoroughly. I learned a lot. I hope the video will be posted on YouTube soon, because there are many things I want to go through from the to learn from the speeches. I shall now hand over the control to the Master of Ceremony, Evie Sylvia. Evie, please.
All right. Wow. Such a very exciting contest. I believe all the judges now have a headache to choose which one will be the winner, because all seems very good. I'll be confused myself. So, ladies and gentlemen, to continue with our journey, we have a very special event for tonight, which is a speech from a very famous storyteller, Sri Karina. So please help me welcome Sri Karina. And before, I would like to introduce her a bit. Hi, Sri. Hi. Okay, everybody. So Sri Karina is a professional storyteller. She's also a founder of Chadamakata, a storyteller club in India. And she holds certified mindfulness and happiness coach and NLP master practitioners. She also holds a master degree in psychology and management. Wow. She is a member of Indian Storytelling Network, and she has performed storytelling in various events in India. So please help me welcome Sri Karina. Your stage.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible, Evie?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, just a small correction. It is not Karina, it is Karuna. Karuna. Okay.
Sorry.
I know there is a famous Indian actress called Karina, but yes, I am Karuna.
Karuna, all right.
Okay, so yeah, before I start my thing about storytelling, I just want to ask you all, as children, you all grew up listening to stories. I think there is not even a single person among the participants today, among who are there on the Zoom meeting today, who haven't heard any stories, right? Yes or no? You can open your, you can unmute your mics and say yes or no. It's a participatory kind of workshop that I'm planning to do. All of you love
Yes.
stories?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
obviously.
Yes. So we all grew up listening to stories. We must have listened to stories from our parents. Some of us were fortunate to listen stories from our grandparents, and some of us from teachers or elder brothers, elder sisters, uncles, aunts. And actually, they say that story is a part of our life. In fact, right now, all of us sitting here and being a part of a communication competition, I think was there today, right, Evie, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes. We just
Yeah. So this
finished.
whole competition being held about communication, this itself a story. Every moment that we are living in our life, we are living as a part of a story. So without much ado, I'll want you all, to go through the storytelling workshop. And Mike or Evie, can I have a screen share option, please?
Okay. Just a moment.
Shri, it should be open.
It should be open.
Okay, one second.
Green at the bottom.
Yeah, I saw that. Let me open that and keep. One second. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I think most of you, almost all, each and every one of you, wait. This person? Do you know who he is and what did he say? Anyone can unmute and tell me?
Steve Jobs, the founder of
Yes,
Apple.
Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs, who's one of the founders of Apple, and most of us must be using Apple phones or MacBooks or iPods. When we were kids, we had iPods and listening to that music devices. So, and now most of us are using iPads. He had a very, very famous quote to share with us all. Can you guess what was it about? Okay, I won't take much of your time. So, according to Steve Jobs, who is the most powerful person in the world? Any guesses, audience? Who is the most powerful person in the world? Is it the United States president, or somebody astronaut who went to the space, or is it the doctor who saves our lives, or who is the most powerful person?
Myself.
Anyone?
Each of us individually.
I am.
Okay. But he says the most powerful person in the world is a storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation that is to come. Yeah. So that is the importance of stories, my dear friends. And before I make it more boring, I'll go into a tiny, weeny story. Once upon a time, in the land of Africa, there were elephants. And in those days, the elephants were not having this long trunks. And the elephants were as big, weighing 500 kgs. And when they were weighing 500 kgs, to go to the river, to squat on their, fat legs and drink water, it used to be very difficult. And when it was very difficult, one day the elephant decided, from now on, I will not drink water, I will not take bath. And elephant had friends. So the friends waited for a couple of days, and then they said, don't come near us. You're stinking. You know, no amount of deodorant or something can actually save your stink. I mean, like, you're smelling so bad. Please go to the river and take bath, they said. But the elephant said, my legs hurt. When I try to squat and sit and drink water, my legs hurt. And the friends, like good friends they are, they said, if you don't do what we tell you, then don't play with us. And the elephant went into the river and it put its face to drink water. And who was there in the water? Yes, the cunning crocodile was there in the water. And he was waiting for somebody to come and drink water and just catch hold of them, because that's his prey for the day, and he was waiting for his meal. And he got this baby elephant. And when he caught this baby elephant by the mouth, I mean, like, you know, his nose was very small and he snapped it there. And then the elephant tried to pull and pull and pull. And one of the elephant's friend was there. He was the snake up on the tree. And he caught hold of the elephant's tail and was trying to pull. And here the crocodile was pulling and the, you know, snake was pulling. And in that pulling, you know what happened? The elephant's trunk grew very long. And that's this tiny story which speaks about evolution of the elephant's trunk. And this is a folk tale from the land of South Africa. And you know what? How stories connect different parts of the world. I'm going to show you, because there is a similar story. There was an elephant in India, and he too went for drinking water, and there was a crocodile. It caught hold of the elephant, but this time it is not the trunk, but it was the leg. And the elephant was only plucking lotuses to worship Lord Krishna. And it was a devotee of Lord Krishna, who is incarnation of Vishnu. And then Vishnu comes and kills the crocodile and saves the elephant. So this is how stories are connected. It's the same elephant and the same crocodile. The situations are almost the same, but two different continents, two different countries, but there are these stories that are connecting people. This is how stories connect, right? And now that we know the importance of stories, let's see, why do we tell stories? Even before, you know, all the stories of Instagram stories, Facebook stories, and all these stories started doing the rounds long ago, very, very long ago. What did men do? They went to the, you know, forest, either as hunter-gatherers. I mean, like, you know, they used to gather food from the trees, or they used to hunt and come. And after a long day after hunting, what did they do? They sat around the fire and they just exchanged what happened through the day. And that was the stories, in the form of stories. So it's right in our blood from generations across. It's there in our DNA to tell stories to each other, isn't it? And then, yes. So first of all, as this is a community communication space and communication contest,
Hi, Sri. Hi, Sri. I think Sri.
He may have frozen, Evie. Just
Yes,
wait,
he
and
has.
maybe she'll jump out. Evie, would you like to continue the story while we're waiting for Shri to come back?
I don't know about the story, Mike.
Tell us a story, Sri, Evie.
It's a very interesting story about the animals strapped.
Sri
I'm
is
sorry.
back.
Yes.
I lost the connection for a little while.
Yeah, it's okay, it's
The
okay.
power fluctuation. Okay, so here we go. And yeah, let me share. Yes. Is the screen visible?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
It's coming up. Yes, thank you.
It is now.
communication is quite useful for making surviving easier. So if you see the left slide, there's this caveman trying to fight the tiger, and once he fought the tiger and came back alive, he survived that particular ordeal of fighting with a wild animal, and he comes back, and whether it is his son in the next slide, or the neighbor, or the brother, or the father, whoever it is, he is explaining them. So and so thing happened. This wild animal came in front of me, and I fought it in this way, and I survived. And that communication passed from one person to another person in the form of a story, and this is how people survived then. And so, okay. Now, here we see a particular picture made of small, tiny triangles. Now, I want to ask you all, can you see a story in this? A tiny story? Just by seeing this picture, can you see a story?
Yes.
Yes. Now, let's see what are the stories that you all see. I'll just take the stories from 2 or 3 participants over here. Anybody, you can raise your hand.
Casey.
Yes.
I see one triangle standing up against all of his neighbors. They're all united, and he's standing up and telling them, "Stop! You're getting it wrong."
Okay.
Okay. And then Sarah is also.
Angela?
Yeah,
Angela, yes. Can't hear you.
I
think you
see.
need to unmute.
Yes. Okay.
I see them all
one.
in formation, like birds flying in the air, following a leader and all coordinated.
So Angela sees birds flying and the flight of birds in the sky. Lots of birds following the leader. Yes. Rajendra sir, you
I
wanted
see.
to tell something?
Yes. Yeah. I see that one against many, which shows the courage that one person is standing against many to fight all of them, and there can be worries. And I think that he's a positive person. He wants to take over all these negative red triangles, so that is negativity, and he's one positive person who wants to get rid of all the negativity using his skill. That's what I see.
Wonderful. Here you have assigned qualities to colors also, negative, positive, one against many. And here you are deciphering this as human beings, whereas Angela's story had birds. Anybody else? Anybody else would want to go? Okay. So when I was shown this picture, what I felt was there is this tiny, one ship going ahead, and there is another fleet of ships following that in the midst of the sea. That is what I saw. And in the same workshop, somebody else thought it was a particular shark, and it was chasing all other tiny fishes. So one picture, different stories. Each of us can see a particular small picture. We can weave different stories. So that is the power of the story. And I go back to the, so feeding the extelligence. All of us know that, one second. Yes. So all of us know that it is good to be intelligent. Intelligent is something, intellect, that we are born with based on our DNA, genetics, and we develop, by reading books and all that. But feeding the extelligence, we developed a variety of media forms, books, theaters, plays, movies, games. But the main reason why we tell stories hasn't changed much. We want to get a point across in an appealing, memorable form. Okay. Now, again, I'll stop the share and we'll do a small, tiny activity. Ready, everyone? I hope I see 48 participants here, but very few people are switching on their videos, whatever you're doing. So let's do this. Okay. Right. Can you raise your right hand when I say right? And left. Right. Left. And right now. When I'm saying right, I'm lifting up my left hand. And left, I'm lifting up my right hand. Right, left, right, and left. Right? So, this was a small story that we did. It was just an exercise of raising hands. If I'll say, let's do some exercise, no one will be ready or most of us would be reluctant to do something. But stories have the power of changing, the way we act. So this tiny activity showed how the stories have the power of changing the way we think, the way we act, and much more than that. This is what is called as extelligence. And once again, yes. Okay, this is not for us. So as we discussed earlier, as kids, we heard, stories from our parents, mom, dad, grandparents, and all. And do you know that popular speakers across the world, I just took two. One is Barack, one is Barack Obama, the former president of United Nations of America. USA, United States of America, and the other person is Mr. Honorable Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. If you have heard them speak, whether in United Nations or in, assemblies, parliaments, or election speeches, they always are sharing stories and anecdotes, and they are known as some of the best public speakers. And storytelling is an integral part of public speaking. Why? Because when they share stories from their personal lives, we connect, that when we hear to a story of what happened to a person when he was young as a schoolboy or was as a young person or anything that he went through his life, then it reflects on our lives. We think about when we were a kid, what did we do? It teleports us to imagine that time of our lives. That is how human to human connection happens. And that is the power of personal stories, which people from world leaders to normal people, everybody keep sharing their stories in public speaking. And as you see, when we travel across or in the malls, shopping malls, airports, everywhere, there is one particular hoarding, whether it is of a beauty cream or a mobile phone or a car that travels faster or anything. But even that particular single hoarding is also telling us about something about stories. If I'm seeing this hoarding is telling me a story that a girl wants to look fair, and just by using this particular cream of fair, and her face is glowing. So we have stories in ads, we have stories in movies, in ad, when we see ad, it is of 10 seconds, sometimes 20 seconds, sometimes 30 seconds max. But there are there are movies that are 3 hours or 4 hours. I mean, of course, this is an Indian movie that I'm showing. Yeah. And stories take us back in time. There are some stories that are universal, which can be told to a kid, or the same story can be told in a corporate sector, where you're going to tell the story to, corporates to reflect upon change management or the style of working. So across age groups, stories are universal, and that is what is this. How many of you must have known the hare and the tortoise story? And it is rewritten for corporates. Sometimes they say that slowing down and taking rest is also essential. What if? And when you ask these questions, that kind of what if, the same story. What if the hare did not sleep? What if even the tortoise felt sleepy and, it came and rested next to the hare? What if they both walked together? There are so many what if kind of scenarios that either you pose these questions to children or employees of an organization, and then the responses make them think, make them reflect, make them retrospect, make them introspect. And that's what stories do. The next one is, yes, this is another story. How the thirsty crow. This slide, I put it here just because the thirsty crow story can be told in two, 3 lines. The crow was thirsty. It did not find water. It found water in the bottom of a pot. It put stones. This water came up, and the crow drank water. So this hardly took me 15 to 20 seconds to finish this 3-4 lines of text of the story that I told you. But the same story can be elongated, and told in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or sometimes even 15 minutes. How much you can add in a story or how much you can remove a story depends upon what audience you have, the age groups, and their interest in the story that you're about to share and all that. And one more thing that I want to share about stories and their importance is, this is Mary Kom, and she's won lots of medals in, boxing for India, whether Asian Games or many games. And Mary Kom was in a very small village in the northeastern states of India, and she did not have storybooks to read. She did not have many storybooks to read, but she had only one particular storybook which she read and was inspired. You know what story that was? That was of David and Goliath. How the tiny David, conquered over the mighty Goliath was a story that she read, and the same story was told to her by her parents again and again, which inspired her to win the medals across more, stronger, competent, opponents whenever she fought that, kickboxing. So, and yes, once again, now we are going into the elements of the story. Any guesses? What makes a story? I won't directly give away the elements of a story. Every story will have something, and I want the responses from the audience. Otherwise, it's becoming very monotonous and a monologue. So,
a conflict.
What is in a story? There are 4
a
important elements. Yes? Somebody answer?
A conflict?
Conflict, yes. Many a time there is a conflict, which we call it as a problem. Okay? Yes, there is a conflict in a story which is solved, but not mandatory.
Suspense.
That is
Suspense.
not mandatory either. That's not mandatory either, Rajendra sir.
Key takeaway? Key takeaway.
The plot.
Key takeaway, yeah, I mean, we can call that purpose. Okay, first and foremost, in every story, there are people. It could be animals, it could be human beings, or sometimes it could be even artifacts. Suppose I say that the spectacles has a story. If the spectacles is narrating a story as what it is, it'll say, I was lying, without these two friends of mine, which are the lenses. I was lying just as a bare frame. And one day, this lady walked into the shop and said she needed new spectacles. And of all the frames she tried, when she tried me and looked at herself in the window, in the mirror, then maybe her husband or her friend standing next to her said, this suits you very well. And then she asked the shop person to fix the lenses. And when she first time wore, she took a selfie photograph of of wearing me, and she sent it to her friends, and they said it suits you very well, and she's so happy. Since then, she always wears or takes me, and sometimes she keeps me here, there, everywhere, and she keeps searching for me. Then I feel so important. This is an object narrating a story, right? So there are people. People is the first P of the story. That people could be an object, human beings, animals, anything. And next, somebody said, key takeaway. Yes, every story will have a key takeaway that makes a story effective. And that's called the second P, that's called the purpose of the story. That's called the purpose of the story. Without purpose, if you just narrate a story, the story falls flat. The purpose is what makes the story very significant and connecting to the audience and the emotions that they want to receive and all that. That's the purpose of the story. The third P of the story is the story happens at a particular place. And when we people narrate stories, we always narrate a particular place, whether it is a fairy tale, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or Beauty and the Beast, or Red Riding Hood. It could be a forest, it could be a town, it could be a village, it could be a mountain, it could be a seaside, in the beach, it could be indoors, outdoors, in an amusement park. The more you describe the place, this little Red Riding Hood was walking in the forest. And suddenly she saw that all the trees were so dark and green and dense. Oh my God, the wind even was not moving among the leaves. And there was an eerie silence. The more you describe the place in a story is when the imagination of the person, he teleports himself to that particular place. The story caters to the senses of a human being. And we human beings are, so much connected to our senses, the five senses. Okay. Touch, it's okay, but stories make us see something which is not in front of our eyes. Stories make us hear something that is not actually they're not hearing it. And stories make us feel. Yeah. So even stories make us taste. Suppose you're describing a very, yummy pudding with, chocolate trickle and vanilla and lots of nuts, and this one, in your internal brain, you're imagining that taste even. So it's tickling all our senses. It's making us feel all that senses. That's what the power of story is about. So when we describe this place, third P, we teleport ourselves. So description is very important. And the fourth P is the plot of the story. So every story has a plot. It has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an ending. And the beginning, middle, ending, and from ending, it can come back to the beginning given. That is a circular story that we call, like a never-ending story. But sometimes, most of the times, the beginning, it begins and then it goes towards the climax and then ends. So the story arc goes up, raises the suspense, and comes down. That would be the plot of the story, right? There we go. So the 4 pieces of a story are people, place, purpose, and plot and trouble. So these 4 pieces make a story very, very effective. And let's go to the next one. Okay. So the 5th phase, the pause. Okay. So to narrate this pause, I'll share with you all a tiny story. Okay. There was this man and he was going and walking through the forest. And when he was walking through the forest, suddenly he heard some rustling behind the grass, long grass that was there nearby. And when he just tried to peep, suddenly he saw that there is something yellow behind the grass. And then he heard the, roar of the tiger. And then this man started running for his life. He ran. He was running. And he was panting. And the tiger was behind him. And running. He reached outside the forest. And there, what he saw that this forest ended in the hillock. And just there were few steps. And then the hill, he would reach the end of the hill. And there, behind him, was the tiger, and here, in front of him, is the end of the hill. And he didn't know what to do, because if he jumps from the hill, he's going to die, and here the tiger is going to pounce on him. Still, he decided to move ahead, and then he saw a tree branch protruding out of the hill. And then he got onto the tree branch, and what did he see? There was a snake on that branch. And then there is a tiger behind, and there is a snake on the tree. And now he tried to hold on to the another branch. Do you know then what happened? And then he looked at a tiny shrub growing from the crevices of that hill in that cliff. And you know what did he see? His eyes gleamed with happiness looking at that tiny thing. And that tiny thing was a juicy red strawberry. And it was so luscious and gleaming in the sun that this man forgot about the tiger, which was looking up from the cliff, and the snake, which was there on the branch. And he just plucked that strawberry and put it in his mouth. The juice of the strawberry filled up his mouth and every corner of his mouth, and was so sweet and so delicious. Like he had not eaten a similar strawberry all his life. So you saw that pause, when we continuously tell a story, there are some strategic places in storytelling where we need to pause. That pause inflicts the suspense, that pause creates interest. Somebody is just about to doze off, somebody is monotonously telling a story, somebody is feeling very sleepy and just doing like this. And suddenly, when the storyteller pauses, he'll just wake up like this. What happened? And he'll ask his neighbor, what happened? Why did you stop? The pause has that effect of, getting the attention of, somebody who is narrating the story. Yes. So pause is very, very important, which is the 5th P in storytelling. Let me share. Yes. So 5th P is pause. Okay. Okay, now whenever we want to narrate a story, first we need to be scripting a story. So storytelling is a form of public speaking. We're scripting to talk before an audience and not for reading before them. So how to script a story? We should know our story well, make our outline. Every story has an outline. It is called the skeleton. So suppose we take the most common hare and the tortoise story. Hare made fun of tortoise. Tortoise said, come, let's race. Hare said, okay. And the race started. Hare thought it can outdo the tortoise. Hare rested. Tortoise walked slow. Tortoise won the race. This is the tiny outline of the story. And then we can fill it. Once upon a time, in one forest, there lived lots of rabbits and tortoises and all kinds of animals. And in all those animals, there was one tortoise who was steady and he was friendly to everyone. There was one hare. He thought he was the fastest animal and he was very arrogant. One day, he saw this tiny tortoise walking and he made fun of the tortoise. Hey, you slowpoke! How long will it take to walk? And the tortoise said, do you want to race? And the hare said, racing with you? Oh, I will win easily. So this is the way you fill in. First you make your outline and this is the way you fill in. Take notes of the words, elements that we are going to use. Be thorough with the flow and the imagery in story. Flow is a sequence. What happens first? What happens next? What happens next? And what is the last? That is the flow of the story and the imagery in the story. As I was saying, when I said the tiny strawberry story, so there was this long green grass and he saw something yellow and then he started running, panting and all. And then he saw the hillock and there was a tree protruding and a snake coiled up in the branch. And he saw red gleaming, luscious strawberry. This is all imagery. So when this story is being told, we are imagining that a person is running in a forest area where there is long grass growing and behind the grass he sees a tiger. So this is all the imagery in the story. Record your story in parts. We have to record it in parts. Listen to it and refine by adding fun elements, dialogues, sounds, songs, chants, actions, interactions, and reducing the words. Then record again. Check if your story meets your objective and the time duration. We always have to stick to our time duration. As there is timer in public speaking, similarly, our story also. Suppose we are giving a speech of 5 minutes. Our story cannot be more than 1 minute. We may use 1 or 2 stories, but rest of the matter should be there. If we are using our story as a part of a speech, the story cannot be entire speech by itself. Then where will you put the other elements, right? So check if your story meets your objective and the time duration. Always ask yourself, how can I tell the story differently, right? So master the art of crafting a story, create your stories, share your stories, and believe in the power of stories. So now is the time for the Q&A section. Anybody has any questions? We have 5 or 6 minutes, I think, or did I overshoot the time? Okay, sorry, it was 45 minutes, Vaijayanti told me, but I think I confused it to be 1 hour. Mike, I'm sorry about it.
No problem, Shri. We have plenty of time. Don't worry. We're finishing early, and that was just great. So if you do want to ask some questions, yeah, I think 5 minutes for Q&A on Shri's presentation would be appropriate. We were going to have a longer Q&A, just general about Agora, but we're not going to do that. So this Q&A is just about Shri's presentation we've just participated in.
Okay.
Evie, do your magic. Rustle up some questions.
Okay. So anyone has a question? It's very interesting story. I mean, like, I don't know that the story can move and people into action the way it does. I mean, like, I hear stories all the time when I was a little kid. And as a mother, I also do storytelling to my kids. But the way I tell the story, unlike structured the way you did. I mean, like, with all those 4 things, purpose and everything. So sometimes we need to do storytelling impromptu with the kids or anything. So how do you manage to, make it structured when you have to do it like impromptu?
Okay. So just remember the 4 P's, So when you remember the 4 P's, even when you tell any story impromptu, for example, today I told you all a story impromptu with my spectacles, right? So there was a place, okay? And this lady walked in. There was a purpose, she wanted to buy a particular frame. So all the 4 P's are being met there. This lady is the person, and the place is the shop where all the frames are kept. And the purpose is she wanted to select a nice, So when there need not be a plot, the plot is nothing. You see, plot or problem. She had a problem, she didn't have specs. So she's come to buy new specs, and she chose this frame, and the lenses were added, she got her specs, the problem is solved. So even if it was an impromptu, 2-3 minute story that I did, there is no story of, somebody walking into a shop and picking a, frame of glasses, but I made it into a story just using those 4 elements. So the 4 P's, and, pause is the 5th P. When you do that, any impromptu, that organic storytelling that you want to do with your kids, with anything, even of making a soup, you can make a story out of making a soup. I just added this little pepper, and then what happened, and it started, the soup started sizzling in the pan. The temperature was so high. This voice modulation that you take it, you make it exciting, your body language, your voice pitch, the emotion in your voice, these all things make a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. All right, and
In
there's
fact,
another
I think
question from
maybe
Angela.
in the month of October, there's a storytelling festival happening in Indonesia. The Feast Storytelling Festival is happening. I'll share. I think you're the one who shared the Zoom link with me, right? Today, it was yours. I'll try to share the details about it. Maybe you can attend with your children and all. Yes.
All right. We should be. You will come in October?
No, I'm not traveling to Indonesia this time, but yeah, many of my colleagues from India are traveling from Chennai and other places. Yes.
Okay. Okay. And there's another question coming from Angela. So she was asking, Where did you find the lovely template of flowers for the slides? Yeah, your slides look very engaging.
Okay, I just see. I'm Angela. I can share that with you too. I am a nature person, and anything to do with flowers, like even from some earrings or anything, bangles or my dresses, bed sheets, curtains, and everywhere I trying to find flowers. So one day when I was trying to make the storytelling a slideshow for a workshop that I had to do at a school, I was just on the net, I was searching and I just found this, free PowerPoint shares will be there on, I just Googled and then I liked it. And I liked it and I used it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And maybe you want to look for the slides go. There's a lot of free templates for presentation, which is very also interesting and engaging. All right. So there's a
Yes.
question, Sri from
What are the
Bangkok.
best ways to engage the audience in storytelling?
Oh.
The best ways to engage the audience in storytelling is make it interactive, Instead of just telling continuously your story, pause at places and ask them, did this happen to you? I mean, like, there is a protagonist in the story who was scared. And what makes you scared, So when you make it interactive, the audience is engaged into the story. And when you use the pause element, the audience are curious. What happens next? They are. So these are all the small tricks and listen to make it engaging with the audience. Yes. But the basic things, voice modulation, face expressions, excitement when something happy happens, very sad and crestfallen when something sad happens. That voice modulation. The king was feeling so sick and he was feeling so sad that his son was not around. You have to feel the character in the story. If somebody is sick, these all things happen around us. All of us are not healthy 365 days and every year and things like that. There are times when we felt sick. There are times when we lost a near one. There are times when, we found something very exciting. We got a new job or, we got a new girlfriend, we fell in love, and these are the happy moments. So whatever are the moments in the story, those kind of emotions you can bring in your face, body, language, and all that. After all, we are humans and we engage with that kind of humanness of feeling, of emotion. That's about it. Yeah. I hope you all enjoyed this workshop of storytelling and it was fruitful and knowledgeable in some way.
Actually, there's another question from Bangkok. What emotion are most effective in storytelling?
Every emotion. Based on the story, every emotion that the story takes you to. Suppose there is a happy, something happy going on in the story, you have to show excitement and jubilant and you're really happy. And there is something tragic, there is something horror or scared. Every emotion. They say in India, we say Navarasas. Rasa means emotion. So sometimes you're coy, Navarasas, if I have to describe, happy, sad, surprised, disgusted, angry, fear, all these kind of shy and romantic. So there are 9 kinds of emotions that you can play. So all these 9 emotions make storytelling effective in storytelling. But basically, at least anger, happy and sad these basic 3 emotions have to be portrayed perfectly. If not the 9, yes.
All right. Another question for Sri? You can also open your mic if you want to ask her directly, or you can put it in the chat.
Yeah, what would you do differently? Storytelling face to face versus audio only? Yes. Storytelling face to face, we can use the whole body, like I say, he took the bow and the arrow and was trying to shoot, and you can use the whole body to show the scene, emphasizing what you're narrating in the story. But if it is only audio, it is your voice, emotions that you can bring, and the wordplay. The words have to describe more, and word imagery is what helps there, not what you do with your body at all. So it has to be the wordplay and the emotion you show in your voice. Yes. These both are the things for the audio story. Yes.
So, Sri, what do you find is the most challenging in doing storytelling so far?
My challenge is only one thing, is that when I tell stories to kids, and when I have to tell them stories of animals and all, I have not yet mastered the sounds of many of the animals, which some of my colleagues have been able to do, trumpet like a elephant or roar like a lion, because my voice is a soft, calm kind of voice, if you have seen. So I'm more good at telling stories to adults and, nice emotional kind of stories. But there are some very good storytellers who do almost like animated stories, kind with, lots of animal voices. That my biggest challenge is animal voices. Rest all I'm good at, yeah.
Okay, that's kind of difficult. All right. Any other question for Sri? No? Let me just see. Okay. All right, Sri, I think that will be the last question for our Q&A session. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for telling us
My pleasure.
a lot of
My
things about
pleasure. It was
storytelling.
entirely my pleasure.
Studies, powerful tools.
Thank you for
Thank
this
you, thank
opportunity.
you.
I really enjoy doing this workshop for Agora. Yeah.
Sure, come again. We can learn a lot from you. All right, thank you, Sri.
Thank you
So,
so much.
hello,
Thank you, Mark.
Agora.
Thank you, Vaijayanti. She's not online today. Vaijayanti, is she there?
Yeah, Karuna, I am here very much. I am here. You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. I couldn't see you, so I just checking.
Online.
Yeah.
I heard your session. I won't miss it for anything. I really enjoy because I get to learn a lot.
Okay.
And thank you for accepting and doing this wonderful session. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Vaijayanti.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Sri. All right, there's a very, wow, interesting session about storytelling. I don't know about that before, but storytelling can be a very powerful and effective communication tools that we can influence people to make some action due to inspire and the key takeaway that we have in every story. So move on to our next agenda, which is the announcements of the winner. Yay! Okay, let me just call on our chief judges, Mr. Chris Callahan. Is the announcements ready?
They are. May I share my screen?
Yes. Your screen is not coming yet. Okay.
Can you tell me what you see?
Your screen, the Unity in Diversity AGORACON 2023.
Okay, excellent. It's always difficult to make sure that you see the right screen because with Zoom, they don't, for some reason, show you what you show in the other people, which makes my life very difficult because I'm a person who works with multiple screens.
All right.
But be that as it may, I think that I'm ready to go ahead in a moment. So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight you heard 5 really excellent speeches. I'm sure you all agree with this. But I remind you that behind the scenes, there are all those other participants who were participants in the semi-final competition, and all the others who wanted to be here but didn't bite that bullet to get here. To those who are not brave enough to be here, I want you to remember that success in life is not about having a magnificent, unbeatable skill. It is far more about being prepared to try. Yesterday, Dunstan Chan told us a short story about a man with a boat. You remember the man with the boat story? Basically, the man had a boat. Everybody else in the village had to swim the river to get across. The man with the boat said, I don't need to swim the river, I've got a boat. Until one day a huge storm came and almost drowned him. He then decided he needed to learn to swim. So what did he do? He went to the library and took out books on how to swim. Now, I must tell you that as an adult, I couldn't swim either. I learned to swim because I was challenged by a group to do a triathlon. And I said, I will run. And they said, no, 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 we have lots of runners. I said, I will cycle. They said, no, no, we have lots of cyclists. They said, you're the most versatile, you need to swim. It was a bit embarrassing. I couldn't swim as an adult. So I went to the library, like the man in the story did, and took books out on how to swim. But fortunately, I did one thing that that man didn't do. I got into the pool and I trained. You see, the man in the story didn't do that. He just read about swimming and he spoke to people about swimming. And when eventually another storm came and he fell in the water, he drowned because that wasn't enough. He didn't practice his swimming. And that was such an important story for all of us, because what we need to do if we want to be good speakers is not read about speaking or watch videos of great speakers. That's all good. What we have to do is we have to take part. And the best way to take part is in your local Agora club, because there you're with a group of friends who will accept you struggling a little bit at the beginning and will be looking forward to that day when you overcome that insurmountable hurdle and when you are a brilliant speaker. The only way it's going to happen is by working at it day after day, training yourself, physically training in front of people, or in the case of a Zoom meeting, physically training in a Zoom meeting, because that is how you really learn. It becomes a part of you. And I can see that our speakers tonight had got there. So let us take a step forward and see where we go. First of all, I think we need to applaud all the people who took part at every level, even those that didn't make it into the final. Contestants will get a certificate similar to this one, and that will be no matter at what level you took part. You will get a certificate. The certificates will differ slightly, as you will see. I also want you, before I give the final result, to quickly applaud the judges. I can tell you today the judges had a very difficult job. 2 of the scores differed by less than 0.5% in the end. That's how close the scoring was. So it was not an easy job the judges had. But let's go on to the result. It's a contest. There has to be a result. So ladies and gentlemen, in 3rd place, we have Dalia Abdul Halim with Let's Discover Ramadan.
Yay.
In 2nd place, we have Arina Camila Nadira with her question, am I dumb? Well done, Arina. You certainly are not done. I can tell you that. Then, ladies and gentlemen, In Agora, we are not so conceited as to call our winner a world champion. But in this case, simply the Agora International Speaker's best educational speaker. And that is Richard Dieter, with his superb educational speech on medical communication. I can tell you, I'm going to have a different sort of discussion with my doctor next time I go and see her. Thank you very much, participants. Thank you very much, judges. You were all brilliant tonight. You did a great job. I appreciate it. Madam Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, all the judges. Wow. And congratulations for all the winners and also all the contestants that has been joining. We are so much enjoying your speech. And I know it's a very tough job for all the judges, but you guys did very great job. So thank you, judges. All right. So let's move on to the final part of our meeting tonight, which is the closing. Maybe I wish to invite Mike Nicholson as the ambassador of Indonesian Agora.
Evie, do you want to take photographs of the winners?
Yes.
Yeah, why not we take we take the
Okay.
photos first.
Okay, we take the photo first. All right, for the, sorry, let me just pin. Let's start with one by one or three of those together.
I think put all three together.
All right, so Richard.
You can spotlight three of them.
Yeah. Trying. And then Celia. Congratulations. And was this the second winner? Arina, is it? Okay. All right, we have all the three winners. Yay. Okay, give a very big smile and cheers. Yay. All right, congratulations. Okay, and then shall we go to the closing, or we wish to hear the comments from the winners? All right. Okay, let's start from the Richard. Could you please share something about this experience?
Yes, I'd be very happy to share something, and thank you very much to everybody, and well done to all the participants. And certainly I've learned some things today by listening to these educational speeches. And at the beginning, I was tempted to try different opportunities because I know there's the humorous one. I'm not sure that's quite me. But then there's the storytelling one. And I wanted particularly to go for the educational one, partly because it was a bit longer. And some of these things I think are quite important and difficult to get over in a short speech. So I was quite excited about the possibility of that longer time frame to talk with you and share some ideas and hopefully introduce something new. And certainly I've benefited from learning new things, and it's a great exercise, I think, to take lots of different ideas and get them down into something that is short that you can then hand over to someone else. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I will pass on to the next person.
Oh, thank you, Richard. Really enjoyed the educational session you shared. And for me as a patient, yes, I will certainly take your way to talk to my doctor next time. All right, let's go to the second winner. Arina, could you please share something about this experience? How do you feel?
First of all, I still can't believe it. All of the drawings that I made was actually I can't present it in here. It's like a very rushed drawing for me, and it was not that easy to find the ideas and more than that. I still can't believe it, and I want to thank Agora too, and all my friends for Agora Indonesia for supporting me, and it's like they always support with nice words. And Rina, don't think like this, don't overthink, don't think like this, blah blah blah. Just be yourself and go for it. And they make me the reason why I'm so excited to participate because of this competition. Like so, Achievers Agora and also Agora. Without that you guys and support, I will never be in here. So it was a nice, lovely experience for me to join this, and I still can't believe it. I want to thank you all so much. Thank you so much too, Chris, for this amazing opportunity too. Oh my God, I'm so shaking. I'm sorry. I just said thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Arina. It was a very lovely speech, and that's what we actually do in Agora. We support each other and we grow together. So, okay, thank you. And then Daria, last but not least, could you share something insight from this experience? What do you think? How do you feel?
Thank you so much, first of all. Actually, I remember now the first day in Agora when I have joined. I was really shy person, cannot open the screen and say hello. So now I was even surprised. I didn't imagine that I'm going to be the winner, honestly. I'm really remembering the first day here. I wasn't able to say hello without feeling them sweating and I'm very exerting much effort. Now I feel that, oh my God, I can speak without being afraid. I can express my point of view with much confidence more than before. I'm remembering, honestly, everyone have helped me here. Also, something else, I found that all the speakers, most of them are English native speakers, while for me, I even cannot speak in English with much confidence like them. So I said, oh my God, they are going to count how many mistakes I'm making. So definitely I'm not going to be the winner. So I'm really happy and I cannot express my happiness now and my appreciation to everyone has helped me and to everyone here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Daria. I believe your hard work and persistency in learning and attending Agora meetings is actually fruitful journey for you and all of us. So thank you all three winners. Congratulations. I think I'll see you more into our next competitions. Thank you so much for joining the competitions. And then for the last part, I think I wish to call Mike. Hi, Mike.
Thank you so much, Evie. Okay, so we come to the end of a fascinating day. We've all learned something. I never knew you had a hat like that, Arina, though. I hope you wear it tomorrow to Achievers. So it is a great event. We learn something every time we have one of these sessions. It's so good. And let's go home and rest. I mean, it's getting on late in Indonesia, UK. They're just at the beginning of the day, so they can go and do some great things. Tomorrow.
Mike?
I think he got kicked out.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I think what Mike was trying to say, it's been a lovely evening for all of us who are attending this meeting. And I think we are all in a different time and space. And
I think Fred
He ended it for
can
himself.
deliver the
He-
closing remark, Fred.
Ben, he handed it for himself earlier, you see. He was,
No,
he was
we
tired.
invite Fred. Fred can deliver the closing remarks for tonight.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
Very good.
I appreciate the offer, Ben Peng. I really thought everybody did a fantastic job, as always. I enjoyed everything from the start, and Ben Peng, your discussion on why agro was so important, to the the speakers who spoke to us about how to compete, do some speech competitions, to storytelling, and of course, the educational. I thought it was wonderful. I look forward to the next 2 days. We have 2 more contests and 2 more days. So I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow. Thank you for everyone. I mean, Chris and everything he's done with the judging and the certificates, and of course, all of the people behind the scenes. I thought you did an outstanding job. And of course, the master of ceremonies today with that fantastic hat and that lovely smile. Thank you very much for everyone. Well done. I'll see you
Thank
tomorrow.
you, Fred. Okay, then it will be the closing remarks for the event. Thank you all the judges, the master of contest, the contestants, and everyone who is attending. I think we have a lovely meeting. I'll see you tomorrow. We have still 2 more days. Don't forget to come.
Take a picture.
Take a picture together. All right. So I wish to invite everyone to open their cam. All right. Please be patient with me because we have several pages. All right. And give your best smile. 1, 2, 3. All right. That is the first one. Wait, please bear with me. I'm going to the second page. All right. Okay. 1. Just keep on smiling because you don't know where you are being. Okay. 1, 2, 3. All right. Okay. Thank you everyone for that lovely smiles. I love that so much about
Thank you,
you
Evie.
guys. All
Thank
right.
you,
Thank you. Thank you
everyone.
very much.
Tomorrow.
See you
Thank you.
tomorrow.